So guys, back again, and it's Will from 4 Point Solutions here, and really big question we always get at 4 Point Solutions. A lot of people, I am not a big fan of US LLCs myself, however, some of the clients are, some clients need those US operations, right? But a huge question is, can a foreigner own a US LLC and pay zero US tax, right? So the short answer is yes, they can, right? So an owner of a US LLC can pay no US tax actually by doing this, but let's actually, break it down to see what is actually going on behind the scenes, right? So if you're a non-US resident, a non-US citizen, right, who owns a single member LLC, that's an SM LLC, single member LLC, right? Basically, you need to confirm that it has no US trade or no US business. That is extremely key right there. Additionally, it has no US sourced income and has no non-US employees or no fixed place of business, no real substance in the USA, right? So this is then called a disregarded entity. Very key there, and that is for US tax purposes with the IRS. Therefore, the entity wouldn't be taxable in the US, but instead your home jurisdiction, if at all. So if you live in the UK or something, or Germany, this probably doesn't work as good. There's better structures for you. But again, if you're a digital entrepreneur living over in UAE, living in Paraguay, living in Monaco, living in a much more friendly personal tax regime with less regulation around that because of the actual low personal taxes, then could be really good. Are you selling online courses to global customers? This could be a really good simple LLC to have. An SM LLC, single member LLC, could be fantastic if you are, a digital entrepreneur selling courses, living in UAE, living in Dubai, living in Ras Al Khaimah, living in Riyadh maybe, or Abu Dhabi. Again, you would have no US tax liability, but still, the reason why I don't like the US LLCs is the forms of the IRS you have to file is ridiculous. You've got the pro forma 1120. You've also got the 5472 form again. But again, there is a few legal requirements for this to actually work for you to pay zero, right? So number one is no effective connected income, also known as ECI. Again, you must not engage in a US trade or business. So the IRS defines it very loosely, a little bit annoying. And basically what it means is no staff, no warehouse, no dependents actual operating, no dependent agencies, I would say, actual operating, no marketing targeted towards the US, which is a huge downfall, right? And no US source service or product revenue. Again, those are the loose rules, but they're generally what we have to look at, with these US LLCs, right? So non-US source income, such as interest, rents, royalties from US entities, may trigger withholding tax even if you live abroad, okay? So very key on that front right there. And again, they can be very useful, as I have mentioned, but, there are proper forms that you need to file, such as the 5472 and the pro forma 1120. And essentially what that is reporting foreign ownership and the returns on those transactions, essentially. And the second one is the MT corporate tax return. And if you don't do these, I think the fines are $25,000. So you should probably be doing these forms, right? So you will be taxed, if we look at it on the other kind of perspective, you will be taxed if you have clients or income from a US person, you perform services physically while in the actual US, you open a US office or hire local staff, you receive dividends, rents, royalties from US sources, for example, and you improperly essentially structure the business and ignore those treaty rules, right? So some great tips is to not use a C Corp, to use a single member LLC, as essentially a C Corp is taxed at a corporation level, right? Consider states like Wyoming, Delaware, New Mexico. Use a foreign payment processor. There's many of these. And again, you don't really want to be using the traditional US ones, right? As they might expose you to that those treaties. essentially XYZ, and keep everything substance free, you know, super, super simple. So potentially, yes, you can do it. There's a little bit of stuff going on that you need to make sure that you do nail right, and you don't have any of those, you haven't breached those treaties, as I've mentioned in this video. But other than that, you can go ahead and do this. And again, if you did want to go ahead and form a US LLC, we can do it very effectively, or we can send you our agent, which we're actually using. So yeah, happy to help you. Again, you can book a meeting with me below. If you do have any more questions, you can drop me an email as well. Happy to answer those questions on email. And other than that, guys, have a great day, and I'll be speaking to you soon.